Hey there, Begs here with Izzet, Polymorph, and Modern. Let's give this one a shot. It's a 2-lander. We got a bobble. We're on the draw. I was just playing some games earlier without recording, and I was running into some really interesting opponents, so I thought I should fire it up and start recording some of these. Simian Spirit Guide, interesting. Makes me think it's some kind of combo deck. We drew the Talisman. We need to draw exactly a 3rd land and a Polymorph or Transmogrify to have the turn 3. Otherwise, we're just going to be looking at a Protea Staff turn 4 probably. Considering we're 2 pieces away, I'm going to leave, and we have triple Counterspell, and I think this might be an opposing combo deck. We're going to leave up our Counter Magic instead of going for the turn 3. Well, there's the land. That was one of the missing pieces. So now we can play Colony, get that under our belts and out of the way. Now if we draw Polymorph, I'm going to be really upset. Oh, and he's going to be upset when we Spell Pierce this. I guess he could exile the Simian and pay for it, yeah. Well, he's gonna have to, so. Take a wild guess. What's frustrating is I want to play Protea Staff so that we can activate turn 4. He has 4 cards. I have no idea what he could do with mono red. And he doesn't even have the Spirit Guide anymore, so. Do we go for it? Or do we continue leaving up counter magic? I think we go for it. We didn't come here to counter all of his spells. We came here to make an Emrakul. And even if he has Bolt for our plant token, for some reason he threw it at our face. Electro Dominance, Wheel of Fate. Oh, crazy. We both drew new hands. Pyromancer's Ascension. Welp. Okay. Make an Emrakul with Swansong backup. I think it's some kind of weird storm deck. He's trying to get this up and running. Alright, let's see what he can do. We still have Swansong backup. We have backup Emrakul in the hand. That doesn't help. Interesting interaction. Yeah. Sometimes you attack with Emrakul, and they actually have enough crap left over to kill you the next turn, so you'll want to activate a Polymorph effect a second time to put Emrakul back in play untapped before you say go. And Emrakul has protection from colored spells, so you can't Transmogrify or Polymorph an Emrakul, but the Protea Staff is colorless, and you can actually activate it to put Emrakul on the bottom of its owner's library, and even if you're holding the other one, since you just put it on the bottom, you'll find it with the activation. So, interesting little tidbit to think about. And as far as Progenitus goes, if you get that in play, you can't target it with anything because it has protection from everything, so. Interesting interaction. I feel like Dispels might be good here because they had bolts in the main board, and now that they've seen our combo, they will probably hold a bolt, and they won't even have to mulligan that aggressively for it. And we'll also need to look out for Simian Spirit Guide into bolt, even if they look like they're tapped out. So this 1, 2, 3, 4 lands. Talisman, double counterspell. We're only missing a polymorph effect. Guess we'll keep it. Island, say go. We might be looking at another wild guess on his next turn, and I would love to stop that. Forgotten Caves. Wheel of Fate. Enter the exile zone. Suspend 4. That's fine. We could still counter it when the time comes. No, it's a sorcery, so it would have to be Swan Song. That's what's so nice about the Talisman. You tap out on turn 2, but it gives you a 1 mana rebate. It's a true, full-fledged mana rock. Opponent thinking about something. So no polymorph effect just yet. 3 creatures. Oh, well, there's a polymorph effect. Don't want to show them creature just yet. Although with their Wheel of Fate, they can make us discard our whole hand and draw a new 7, but so we have 4 mana plus the thing we're about to activate. That means we can activate with a Dispel backup. Play the Colony Garden and do the exact same thing with a plant token and then hide the fact that we're holding 3. Still worried about a Wheel of Fortune effect that should be coming soon. 1, 2, 3, wait for the bolt, and Dispel. Oh, it's just good. That should be game. It's turn 4. Opponent's thinking about it. Not much to think about. Simian Spirit Guide. Well, he's playing something at end step. Let's go ahead and dispel that. Okay. And he still doesn't get the Wheel of Fortune effect till next turn. Yep, there you go. Not bad. So, mono red, Electro Dominant Storm deck that uses the whatever the heck that red enchantment was that he played. Anyway, yeah, we got him. That was a good one. Yeah, not bad. I haven't organized the deck page over here. Got it tapped out real quick. Check out the deck. Give a shout out to everybody who has liked the deck. Me, I accidentally clicked it when I was trying to hit the deck cycle button. I know it's tacky to upvote your own deck. Sergio Del Rio, Sack Ox, Celine 3, Balam, Boone, and Bad Rabbit 777. Not bad. 144 views. I'd have to assume 44 of those are just from me refreshing the deck over and over. So yeah, that was pretty good. You got to see the Dispels come in out of the sideboard, specifically because our opponent had Bolt. And yeah, it worked out pretty good. Happy with it. Talismans pulled their weight. They came through. Colony Garden, Blink Moth, Ink Moth. I had a discussion with Sergio Del Rio in the comment section about playing Mutavault. And there's nothing wrong with Mutavault. In fact, it might even be correct to play Mutavault over Ink Moth Nexus, because alongside Blink Moth, Mutavault is all creature types at all times. So you make a Mutavault into a 2/2, and then if you have Blink Moth, you can tap it to activate it and give +1/+1 to target Blink Moth. And Mutavault counts as a Blink Moth because it's all creature types. So if your opponent attacks with a 2/2, you can activate Mutavault, give it +1/+1, and now you have a 3/3, and then you can profitably block a 2/2. This isn't going to win you the game, Additionally, the games where you win with a full 20 damage by activating manlands happens like 1 out of 100 games. I've been playing this deck for like a year, and I've only done it like twice, and I've played hundreds of games. So, not to mention you could do it and get like 15 damage through, and then they find a way to, Ghost Quarter your Mutavault, and then it doesn't matter, or whatever you happen to be using. What I was doing in the past is using Inkmoth Nexus, and then Blinkmoth would give it +1/+1, and then you get the Infect win just a little bit faster. You only have to hit them 5 times with an unblocked 2/2 Inkmoth. Sometimes you have 2 Blinkmoths and an Inkmoth, so you can make it a 3/3 Inkmoth and kill them in like 3 or 4 turns. But the games where that matters is 1 out of 100, and debating over Mutavault versus Inkmoth, so that whichever of those two is more optimal, because you have to weigh the pros and cons of, do you want to hit them 5 times with a Mutavault, which would only be 10 damage, so you'd have to hit them 10 times with a Mutavault, or do you want to hit them 10 times with an Inkmoth Nexus? And then Blinkmoth can speed it up with either of those. I wouldn't want to play all 3, because that would be 12 legit colorless lands, and I prefer playing Colony Gardens. It makes a token the turns it comes out, and it enables the turn 3 wins, because you don't have to invest mana in future turns turning it into a creature, because it just makes a plant token that you get to keep for the rest of the game. And there's no sequence or lines of play where a Mutavault, an Inkmoth, or a Blinkmoth by themselves can win on turn 3. It doesn't work that way. The only way you can get a turn 3 win is with Colony Garden, and that there have been plenty of matches where the only reason I won is because I made Emrakul exactly on turn 3. If at any point you don't even make the Emrakul until turn 4 in all of those games, I wouldn't have been able to survive long enough. And however, in the games where you can make a Mutavault just as a chump blocker or a profitable blocker, like let's say they're hitting you with a bunch of Goblin tokens, 1/1s, it's like, well, fire up Mutavault and block one of them, and now they have 1 less Mutavault, or they have 1 less Goblin token or something. And those games matter because you're actually chipping away at the number of permanents they have in play, and when you finally get the Emrakul and get the Annihilator 6, they have 1 less than they would have otherwise had, and that might be the linchpin, straw that breaks the camel's back that allows you to win also. And I would say that in about the games where blocking with a Mutavault, not to deal full 20 damage, but just to block to keep you in the game a little bit longer, those interactions could happen as often as every 1 in 10 games. As opposed to trying to go for a full 20 damage win, which only happens in 1 out of 100 games. So it's like 10% of the time versus 1% of the time that a Mutavault would be better than an Inkmoth. A Mutavault is good 10% of the time, and Inkmoth is good 1% of the time in an alternate win scenario. And not even an alternate win scenario, but in a Mutavault in conjunction with a Blinkmoth gives you a 3/3 blocker, which will dissuade attackers, which will prolong the game, which will allow you to eventually get your combo and give you a little bit more inevitability and legs, give the deck legs. So I'm thinking that Mutavault might just be a strict upgrade to Inkmoth. The only reason I didn't initially play Mutavault over Inkmoth was it was 100% because of budget reasons. That's what I said right here. And for me personally, I also built Mono Green Infect a few months ago when I was fleshing out my collection and building some decks, and I was able to use Inkmoth in Mono Green Infect. So I was able to use Inkmoths in more than one deck. They're repurposed and multi-purpose, and it's nice. If I were to have Mutavaults in my collection, typically you play Mutavault in a tribal deck, and Merfolk or something like that along those lines, and those decks play Aether Vial. Aether Vial costs, Iconic Masters right here is $25, but if you come over here, Aether Vial, and I talked about these in one of my other videos, you can get them for Aether Vial foil. He's got 2 copies for $17. Not bad. Every other version of it has gone up in price. But you can get them for around $20 between, I mean, there you go. There's 2 other foils for $19.92. So for around $80, you can have a playset of vials, which opens up a lot of deck building archetypes. However, if you're just looking at it in terms of, I want to build Monograin Infect, that's really cheap. It's less than $30. It's like $25 between just Forest and Ink Moth, the pump spells, Birds of Paradise, Ecroclomber, Blight Mamba, Apostle's Blessing, Become Immense, Glistener Elf, Might of Old Croesus, Scale Up, Finds of Vastwood. Super cheap deck, super cheap deck. I didn't put in Noble Hierarchs. I didn't put in the Blue Splash. So I was able to play the Ink Moths in a budget version of Infect. And if I were to have Mutavaults, and I were to go and build a Mutavault deck with like Merfolk, I wouldn't have Aether Vials, and I feel like the deck is a lot weaker and not even worth building if you aren't going to go out of your way to get the Aether Vials. And the Aether Vials would cost you $80 for a playset. None of my decks on MTGO cost more than $30, $40, $50. Polymorph is the exception. It costs about $60, but 30 of that comes from the baubles, and you don't even need to play the baubles. They're optional. So this is like a $25 deck. It's like $25. I'm pretty sure I have it in my cart still, and there it is, $26.79. Oh, it's gone. They emptied my cart after 48 hours or whatever. But you saw there for a second it said $26.79. Anyway, all of that being said, if you were going to repurpose your Ink Moths to build like budget Infect, like I just showed you, as well as play them in Polymorph, which is a budget deck, for $50 you can have 2 full decks built. With Mutavaults, you could play them in Polymorph, and they're like $2.50 a piece. But then if you wanted to play Merfolk, the starting point would be $80 for vials, and I'm not going to do that. I then go on to explain how, and yeah, gigantic wall of text just for a comment. I don't have any faith in MTGO as a format for investing, as a platform to invest in. I don't want to go out of my way to spend $36.50 on a single copy of Teferi, even though it would make the deck stronger. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go out of my way to pick up copies of Force of Negation, because yep, there you go, $75 a piece. $75 a piece. You're freaking, I hate to say it, but you're smoking crack if you think I'm going to invest $75 a piece on these, or $40 a piece for Teferis just to make a janky combo deck better. And if I were in the position where I had both of those cards, I would say, well, I should build a dedicated Teferi and Force of Negation deck that's stronger and doesn't even use the Polymorph effect. So you transcend out of, like, I want to make this janky Polymorph deck better, into, what am I doing? I should be using these powerful cards to play a actually powerful deck. So the only reason you entertain the idea of playing Polymorph is because it's budget. It's because it's under $30. It's because you're taking a pile of junk and you're doing something very powerful with it. If you start injecting it with steroids, it's kind of like, what am I doing? So it's this weird push-pull between, do I want Mutavaults or do I want Ink Moth for this janky combo deck? And for me personally, I was able to find another use for the Ink Moth Nexus, which was $1 cheaper than the Mutavaults. If you come over to Ink Moth, it's about $1.59, $1.50, and Mutavaults are like $2.50. I showed you a second ago, $2.72. So there you go. And I'm pretty sure the cool full art isn't even that expensive. Oh, actually it is. Yeah, it's like $10. Jeez. But these Morrowind Mutavaults, $2.50 a piece. 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically $10. Yeah, $9.80. So for $10, I could jam Mutavaults into my Polymorph deck, and the Ink Moths already cost $1.50 a piece, which is $6. So it would only increase the cost of the deck about $4. And it was at about $26, so that would make it a solid $30 deck, which I'm okay with. I guess I'm okay with that. You throw in the baubles, and it's another $30 basically, and then it's a solid $60 deck. So, I mean, very negligible. But I'm so value oriented that I look at it as like, how can I repurpose Ink Moth? Well, I can build budget Infect for like $20. How can I repurpose Mutavault? Like, really, the only way you would repurpose them is in a Merfolk style tribal deck with Aether Vials, and that costs you $80. There's no way around it. So, I mean, and as I prefaced, I don't feel comfortable investing in MTGO as a format, specifically because I'm worried that Arena over the next 3 to 5 years will absolutely overtake MTGO, Magic the Gathering Online, as the client of choice, up to and including Wizards discontinuing major support for MTGO. There may get to a point where they want their entire player base to migrate over to Arena because they start offering Modern, they start offering Legacy, they start offering Vintage, they start offering Commander support, they start supporting all of the Eternal formats. And for me, and I said this in the comment, the canary in the coal mine would likely be if you see Wizards offer up the original dual lands as a bundle, a historic pack bundle on Arena. If you see them put the original dual lands on Arena, that's it, man. That's it. The canary is done. It has hit the bottom of the cage. It is done. They will be moving everything over to Arena, and they'll just discontinue support for MTGO. It may be one of those things where they don't officially turn off the servers, like you could still technically log in, but it's going to be one of those things where they stop fixing bugs, they let it stagnate, they stop offering cube drafts, they stop offering, new sets, they just let it rot. And as a result, the existing player base has to move to Arena to keep playing Magic, basically. And it's a polished digital format similar to Hearthstone. It's like, do you want to play old 97, 2001, like Windows Solitaire? Or do you want to play a polished digital format? It's the way things are going. It's way too lucrative for Wizards to ignore that. And you look at the 3 or 4 supplemental sets they've added to Arena in the last year alone. They've added Amonkhet Remastered, Kaladesh Remastered, Jumpstart, the historic bundles, and they've released, 3 or 4 standard sets over the last year also. Ikoria, Lair Behemoths, M21, Theros, Zendikar Rising, and it's just, you have to spend, you have to get, if you really want to stay current, and you can free to play, you can grind the game with your time, but ideally you're going to be looking at buying the $50 bundle every season, in addition to the Mastery Pass, in addition to, there's no way to get the singles you want unless you buy in-game currency, buy packs, crack them, spin the wildcard meter, then spend those wild cards on the cards that you need, and it goes so fast. If you spend $20 on gems and crack, 18 packs, you get 3 spins on the wildcard meter, and maybe you pop like a rare out of one of those packs. So you've got the ability to unlock one playset of cards, one playset for $20. Now, scale that up. How many playsets of rares are used in any given standard deck? Like, 6 or 7. So 6 times 20, it's $120 to build one deck on Arena, or the equivalent in time spent grinding, which could take you a month to slowly earn daily gold to get enough packs to... So you get what I'm saying. It's so lucrative for Wizards to do this, and to do it with multiple sets, historic sets, as remastered sets, as well as new current standard sets. It's incredibly lucrative, and they've completely phased out and prevented a secondary market from manifesting itself the way that Paper and MTGO have. On MTGO, you can buy ticks in the store, their in-game currency, go to the trade section and buy individual singles and give the bots your ticks to do that. And then later, let's say 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, you haven't played Polymorph in years. You're sick of it. You want to trade in your copies of Emrakul. You want to trade in your baubles. You're just done with it. It's like, okay, well, you trade those into the bots. They give you back ticks. And now you can take those ticks and sell them back to a website like MTGO Traders, sealed ticks. Sell your tickets. He will give you... We're currently paying 79 cents each via PayPal, or 84 cents in CapeFearGames.com store credit. So I've seen days where they were paying 90 cents a piece. 80 cents is a little less. You're taking a 20% hit there, 21% technically, but you can still sell out of MTGO. You can sell your entire digital collection and just walk away. You cannot do that on Arena. You cannot sell the cards that you spend money getting wild cards and then unlocking singles, and then you own those forever. They're part of your collection. You can't dust them the way you can in Hearthstone. You can't trade them to other players. You can't sell them. You could maybe sell your entire account the way, Warcraft players do, but I mean, that's just nuts too, because you've got a set username that the person you're selling it to can't change unless Wizards gives that option, and the login info is fishy. I mean, the best you could do is change your password, but you would have to sell the email as well to the person you're selling the account to, so it's just very murky, very muddy. I'm sure Wizards doesn't condone that type of activity. You're probably not supposed to sell accounts. It's probably against their TOS, terms of service. You might even see a soft ban, some kind of IP permaban if you do something like that. I have no idea. I'm not suggesting anyone do that. I'm just saying there is currently no way to recoup your investment in Arena, and it's insanely lucrative because every time you spend money on in-game currency, it goes directly into Wizards' wallet, directly into their bank accounts, and they cut the secondary market out of the picture. It was not able to manifest itself the way it does in paper and in MTGO with the trade bots and sources like MTGOtraders.com who will buy your ticks after you sell your digital collection back to the bots for ticks. And so yeah, it's just all of that being said, releasing the remastered sets and slowly building a robust historic format which can be considered Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, it forces that player base to spend so much money on wild cards and gems just to get these dumb digital packs, and they barely have a duplication protection. And it gets to the point where if they re-release a rare card in a future set, you have, even though there's duplication protection from a previous set like in M20 and then in M21, you're seeing Fabled Passage in both of those sets. So if you already have a playset of M20 Fabled Passage, you still have the opportunity to unlock 4 more copies in M21. So even though they have duplicate protection for the same set, they do not have it for future sets. So you're going to end up spending, let's say you spend $20 getting enough gems to get, wild cards, and then as you're opening packs from all of that, you end up popping 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th copies of cards you already have, and then it's just like, no, Wizard, you're killing me. So and that's just so lucrative for Wizards. And the historic mastery or remastered sets, they don't have to generate any creative energy creating new cards. They're just porting over old cards. So that's just a pure profit slam dunk for them. So they're even more incentivized to do that. It's like, why exert creative energy coming up with new cards when we can just resell them the cards that we've already created? So it's a pure profit slam dunk once you subtract the cost it takes to code it and put it on. And that's a one-time thing. You pay game dev designers to code it once, and then it's you can sell it indefinitely after that, and you only had to pay them one time to create it. So it's a very low return of investment threshold for them, and it's just pure profit beyond that. Anyway, all of that being said, you think about it, why would Wizards not do this? Why would they not do this? Why would they not do it? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So if you ask me, hey, Beggs, do you want to invest $40 in a copy of Teferi Time Raveler on MTGO? And I would say, hell no, you're smoking fucking crack, dude. I don't have any faith in the MTGO secondary market. The economy's going to crash over the next 3 to 5 years. It's gonna fucking crash. You look at this, people are paying $10 for Teferi Master of Time. You're smoking crack, dude. Like, put down the crack pipe. There's no way, dude. I would never, or even worse, the Force of Ends, like I told you about, Force of Negations. I would never give MTGO $75 a piece. Oh my god. And in this scenario, that's what's so interesting about it. That's what's so interesting about it. I'm not giving $75 a piece to Wizards. I'm giving it to MTGO traders. Or I'm giving it to the bots. In that case, I am buying in-game currency ticks and then using that to get them, but I can just come right over here and give straight up cash to MTGO traders via PayPal, and then they'll meet me in the chat. They'll open a chat and they'll do a person-to-person trade, and they'll give them directly to me, to my account, and they're very good about that. 24/7 delivery. I love MTGO traders for that. And there's other trade bots, goat bots, dojo traders, stuff like that, but it's just really interesting to talk about this. And it all comes back down to, a simple suggestion like, hey, you want to play Mutavault instead of Inkmoth Nexus? It's like, yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, it comes down to an extra $1 x4, for a playset. $1 more for a playset each, which would be $4. It's a difference of $4. But it balloons and it spirals and tangents into this conversation about the MTGO card economy and things like Aether Vial that pair with Mutavault. And no, I don't want to spend $80 on a playset of vials. No, I don't want to spend $75 on a single copy of Force of Negation just to make this janky brew better. No, I don't want to spend $36.50 on copies of Teferi Time Raveler. Like, no. Absolutely not, especially because the MTGO card economy is going to crash, and I feel terrible for a site like MTGOtraders.com because they probably have a huge position of digital objects, digital cards on MTGO that are just going to tank. It's going to tank, man. In the short term, you'll still probably be able to see new sets come out that get put on MTGO. There'll be sleeper cards you can get for 5 cents a piece. Get like 50 of them. They balloon up to $1. You sell them all. You make $50 off of a $5 investment. That's great. More power to you in the short term. But don't go around picking up Force of Negations thinking that in like 3 to 5 years they might be worth more. Like, do not invest in MTGO like it's a long-term stock. Do not do that. Oh man. This website here is the equivalent of a brick and mortar storefront for paper, but instead it's for MTGO digital, and I just feel so bad. It's like if I were talking about the sky falling Chicken Little for the paper economy, which, I mean, you could make the argument that is happening, but because of the virus pandemic, but I feel like that's going to fade away and pass, and we will go back to, normal, and paper will rebound. But MTGO, man, they're already so weird about the pro circuit and the moxes and things like that. And I feel like it's all going to transfer to Arena. And they're going to force the entire player base to migrate. And this is fucking going on way too long. But it's true. It's all true. All right. Well, thanks for checking it out. Make sure to +1 the deck. Izzet Polymorph in Modern. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.